Welcome back to Champion News Radio and happy Mother's Day. Champion News Radio is brought to you by championnews.net. Today we are talking with our exceptional moms, our exceptional patriotic moms, Jackie Merconi and Laura Wallet, and Jack Roeser and myself, Carol Parisi, are so encouraged to have you ladies with us. We were talking about what got you started in this and what got you going, what kept you going when neither one of you have ever been engaged in any type of political endeavors before. Am I correct, both of you? Just kind of?
Yes.
Okay.
Were you just dynamite women and didn't know it yet, or what?
Well, they are dynamite women.
Why did
that's
you take off on this thing?
Well, for me, primarily it was when Rick Santelli went on his rant in February of 2009. And a follow-up to that, there was a lot of interest in the Tea Party movement. And we actually, that April 15th, myself and a woman, Marie, and Robin out in Naperville, decided to do our first Tea Party. And none of us knew what we were doing. And the reason we grouped together was because we were like, what are we supposed to do?
So you stepped up to leadership in Naperville and decided to do a Tea Party, never doing anything like this before. No. Kind of like the blind leading the blind, but there was something that was driving.
They weren't blind.
Well, nobody knew how to do a Tea Party before.
They just weren't trained in politics.
Right. I mean, it was common sense. Our intuition told us there was something wrong and something needed to be done. We weren't sure at that moment what it was that needed to be done, but our instincts as moms, all three of us, told us that something was going on in our country that wasn't right. So we all got together and we went to City Hall and we took out our signs and we laughed a lot because we thought there'd be 10 to 15 people, and we had over 300 people come out that day.
Wow.
How did you get to 300 people?
It was just word of mouth. It was just basically, with the social media now, it's very easy to get the word out. And between the three of us, we had about 300 people come out, and people had all these engaging signs, and they wanted to speak about what they felt was going on. And one of the most touching stories that I had was a vet from the World War came up to me at the end of the rally and said, he took my hand and he said, just please continue doing what you're doing. And he made me cry. He did. I cried that day because it was like that epitome at that point of that whole rally had come down to that one gentleman coming up to me saying, please continue what you're doing. And really from that point on, I think of that moment a lot of times when I want to give up because there's just so much to do and so many things going on in our lives that, that's the moment that I always think about when I go through this.
That was somebody that's willing to sacrifice their life for this country.
What soured
you to go.
What made you sour about the way things are going? That it woke up this immense amount of initiative that you're showing.
Well, for me, it was just knowing the values that America's founded on, the hard work ethic that I saw my parents and my grandparents go through. I mean, we didn't even own a car growing up. We lived in the city and we walked everywhere. We were not wealthy by any means, but through hard work, myself, my brothers, my sisters, we've all been entrepreneurs. My brother's in construction. He does his own building homes, and I'm an accountant. I also am a business director. My sister has always been entrepreneurial in spirit. So, I mean, we've always knew that those are the principles that drive this country, and that we just had to do something if we wanted to be able to continue that non-nanny state mentality. And, that's what we saw was happening.
And I can see, maybe, and let me say, and you tell me if I'm right or not, but here you are just going along and living life with your family and your work and doing things. But all of a sudden, you saw something was wrong with the system that was drifting away from what you thought you were taught about American principles from our founders, people that are supposed to be free and responsible people on their own, and that the government was always just a last resort. And I think what you decided was we were getting too much of the nanny state and not enough of just being a good family person.
Well, I had the benefit.
Where did you get the arrogance to think that you could go against the national government and you had a better system?
Well, I had the benefit, unlike my brothers and sisters, to go to a Catholic school for 12 years of my life. And I know that's not probably politically correct to say, but I'm going to say it. And I was taught history, the way history was real. We had an American history book. We learned, and history was one of my favorite subjects. So I think for me, it was all those years of actually learning what happened to people when they went to war and they fought for the rights that we have. And so I had a huge respect for that. And my family values were Catholic family values that, you take care of each other. You don't go outside of the family to ask for help. And, those are the kinds of values that I think we need to still teach our children.
The breakup of the family has happened. Take the black community in Chicago and some other places. It wasn't too many years ago, black families were strong. I mean, they not have been rich, and people may have made their course a little bit tough for them, but they had families. Today, the government is the family of the rotten part of the ghettos. I mean, there's a lot of people have escaped it.
Wasn't it Johnson's War on Poverty in 1964 that was the procuring cause of the demise of the family?
I think so, yeah. It took a thing away from the responsibility of the family. If you're in a family, you better keep your snoot clean, or they aren't going to welcome you to the dinner table. You better be on time and clean, and go to work in the morning and stuff like that, or you aren't going to be too welcome in this nice, warm family that makes us all feel so good, especially about our mothers.
Well, now, Jackie, why?
It's very strange.
The government can't duplicate that.
No,
absolutely
not when we're
No.
sick, not when we're well.
No.
Can the government duplicate that?
No, there's nothing like fear. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Hey,
Yeah,
Jackie,
but
tell
now
me
you
a little
women have
bit
decided
about...
you're more equal.
Well, you know what? No, you know what? We are equal, but we're different.
You're right, Jack.
We're different. Now, Jackie, explain to me what was your procuring? What keeps you going in this movement?
Well, I have to say something. Getting back to when I was a young girl, my dad was always a very, very, very strong Democrat. He was a precinct captain, but he had such strong work ethics. And what happened is the Democratic Party then is definitely not the Democratic Party today. And I really was very upset with myself that for so many years, I always thought I was very politically astute and was intelligent, smart, knew what was going on. And then all of a sudden, the movement came, and I realized how dumb I was. That here they were, taking
Right.
my country right out from under me, and I was never really paying attention. And I said, well, this has got to stop. So I came back from D.C., and I met another very, very smart young lady, Carol Parisi.
I want to throw my oar in the water
in the
for a
water.
moment, because the media has tried to paint the grassroots group as a group that grew up from Obama's presidency. But it actually traces back to Rick's rant on national television over
February
the
27th.
$700 billion TARP bailout,
Right.
Yes.
where companies were too big to fail. And
Yes.
that's what woke us up. I mean, conservatives, we focused on family, community, we focused on church. We trusted politicians to do the right thing.
Right. We trusted our lawmakers, the people to do the right thing, to do what they were put there to do.
What Rick said spoke to every single one of us. And that's where the movement actually began, while Bush was still the president.
Yes, Bush was still
Absolutely.
the president.
That's true.
I'm just going to throw my oar in the water here, too. I too, was that April 15th, and I did hear of a Naperville Tea Party, but I live in Palatine, real close to the train, and I took my son out of school that day, had Constitution in hand, and went downtown. And he was all excited because he had the opportunity to get out of school. He had no idea what he was doing. He was getting out of school. This was good. But I said to my son, I said, Michael, this is your First Amendment right, is to assemble peaceably. And I said, read that in your Constitution. And it's funny because he was going through some of, American history studies. So as a mom, I wanted him to experience something that he has never experienced before. And in all honesty, I never protested
Was
before.
he in the public school then?
He's still in public school.
Homeschoolers do a lot of that kind of thing.
I know that.
My son, while on the District 220 school board, my son Tom Roeser was there, head of the finance committee. They homeschooled his daughter for 4 years, and they took her all kinds of places because she didn't have to be in school. In 3 hours a day, she learned everything there was, and she traveled, and she saw the Statue of Liberty and many other fine
and
things
you know what?
that her poor kids in public school never got the benefit of knowing what a real American is.
There's a lot of homeschooling moms out there that we're looking forward to maybe addressing some of what they do when we come back.